And hello, everyone. Welcome back. This is your GM in the Great Barrier, broadcasting from the center of your entertainment galaxy. Um, we are back with Star Trek Adventures Aegis after a break of a couple weeks. So we are looking forward to showing you more of the Aegis's mission, specifically to Alpha Centauri. As we have last left off, the crew was previously situated on essentially silent running after being ordered to the system in order to covertly survey the Tellarites' capabilities and to determine the status of the colony. Let us get back into the adventure here. Um, when last we left off, our crew was proceeding through Alpha Centauri on silent running, as mentioned earlier. About an hour would have elapsed as the ship has basically been running off inertia since you left the gas giant where you initially entered warp, or rather exited from warp, and you are being carried by the residual wave, essentially running off inertia, nearing the nearing one of the moons of Alpha Centauri 3. Um, as you are on final approach, is there anything in particular that you would want to try to do?
I think we established that in the last session that like the radio traffic from the colony is basically like nothing, right?
Pretty,
Like there's a little bit, but like not like there's no normal civilian traffic like coming over the radio waves or anything.
pretty much. The Tellarites, as you discovered on your approach, have been jamming just about every frequency. Um, there is a cordon of four of the six ships that you were able to initially detect, and those four are in closer orbit to Alpha Centauri. They are jamming most of the incoming signals and anything that would be outgoing. They all seem to be working at this. The other two Tellarite vessels are more in patrol of the outer system, whom you very narrowly evaded. Yeah, I should add to that.
What's the
Uh, Apologies for the interruption there. I was just going to say that I should add, with your help, Lieutenant Commander Patel, the comms officer was able to break through some of the jamming, Ensign Crichton, and you did find a basically some sort of broadcast over an emergency broadcasting channel that basically announced curfews were in place.
and there was something about shelters and stuff about the curfew at like 9 p.m. or something like that, I think.
Mm-hmm.
What's the location of the Ithanite freighter that's on its way to the colony?
The Ithanite freighter that you detected is still about, I'd say, 8 hours outside of the system at this point. They are proceeding at low warp, so they are easily in intercept range. You could still beat them there, or rather, you could intercept them before they arrive in the system, well out of scanning range of the Tellarites.
But like geographically, are we closer to the planet than they are, and they will overtake us, or are we still
You
behind them?
you are much closer. You are within the star system. To put it into perspective, you came out of warp in the outer system. I believe, uh, I believe that as the captain wished, the desire had been to stop, like basically at warp over the magnetic pole of like a gas giant to create as much interference as possible, um, combined with minimizing the warp field. So you are astronomical units away, whereas the freighter is still probably in light year distance, or a little below that, but orders of magnitude further away from Alpha Centauri than you are.
From what I understand, we were actually approaching the intended moon of Alpha Centauri, so we're pretty much right there. While the Ithanite freighter is still outside of the system, and will
Yes.
be for some time. Okay.
Y- That is correct. Any other details that you would like clarified before we get started here?
Jan, would you care to remind us of our mission directives for this one?
I would be happy to. And as a matter of fact, I am going to uh, put this back on display, show it to all of the players. Your objectives are to proceed to Alpha Centauri and assess the strength of the Tellarites and the Centauri. With regard to the Tellarites, you are to attempt to negotiate a peaceful settlement with them. At the very least, if you can't negotiate their departure, then deliver the message that essentially Starfleet is coming, they consider this an act of aggression, and they should leave if they don't want to fight. Um, which, there may be avenues of intimidation that way. Personally, though, you are to avoid getting shot at, essentially. Um,
Okay.
and then once you deal with the Tellarites, if you are able to get access to Alpha Centauri and have them depart, then you are to use your uh, use the full capabilities of your ship to arrest Governor Slocum and any rebellious members of his government.
Okay. So it sounds like to this point we have completed the first part of our mission directives, which is proceed to Alpha Centauri and assess the strength of the Tellarites in the Centauri. We have detected to this point 6 Tellarite cruisers in the system and gotten a rough assessment of their individual strength, which is unfortunately greater than a single Daedalus class cruiser. And we haven't yet made contact with the Tellarites, and we haven't arrested Governor Slocum for what, sedition? Um,
Pretty much.
okay, cool. And our original intent with getting to Alpha Centauri as quietly as possible was to what? It was to gather as much information as possible, right?
I believe that was your intention. If you discussed the plans amongst yourselves, so if you have other recollection with that in that regard, then I, by all means, invite the players to discuss amongst themselves and whether they would like to modify those plans forthwith.
Well, I mean, it seems obvious that we can't really defeat the Tellarites in a direct confrontation. In fact, we're supposed to avoid getting shot at, which is a great, great idea considering that there's 6 of them. They're stronger than us, and there's one of us. From what we've learned about the Tellarites, they seem to, be in this particular context, acting as security. They seem to be hired as mercenaries. So perhaps if we can convince them that it is not in their financial best interest to proceed with this course of action, they would leave. Does that sound reasonable?
Well, I will leave this to discussion amongst the
Okay.
players here.
Yes, yes, yes.
Yeah, by all means. And if you would like to make this a scene, we technically have virtually all of the bridge officers present. So if you would like to have this discussion in character, then by all means, I would invite it.
Yeah. Because we've already been like passively monitoring comms. We've collected all the information that we can from passive scans. Any further information gathering would reveal our presence immediately. And would it just wouldn't be helpful because we've already got enough of an idea. Um, so I think go ahead.
I think negotiation with the Tellarites should be possible. From what I know of them, they'll look out for their economic interests. So if we can prove to them that it's in their interests to abandon Governor Slocum, they'd probably be open to do it.
Or maybe we could offer them interests that are better than what they would get with Alpha Centauri. Like instead of an exclusive trade agreement with this little colony, we give them a nice trade agreement with Earth.
Have we been authorized to do that? I mean, like that seems like something that could. That does seem like something Earth diplomats would be open to. Like maybe if we were to open a crack in the door, so to speak. Like, hey, you know, Alpha Centauri is nice. How about trading with all of the Earth colonies, including the homeworld?
It could well fall within your purview, and As many a GM has said before, you may certainly try.
We'll have to find out exactly what the Tellarites are being promised to be here.
Yeah, no, that was a question I had. What kind of resources does Governor Slocum have at his disposal that would entice the Tellarites to do this in the first place? Alpha Centauri is a fairly prosperous colony, but it's still a colony.
I think Alpha Centauri has lots of mineral wealth from what I've read up about it, so it
Oh,
could be that the
yes.
Tellarites are
Yes, it has
are
mineral wealth and a minor shipbuilding industry.
And there was an R&D
Tellarites might be out
sector.
to invest in that.
Hmm. Okay. Uh, Honestly, I think any further information to be gained here it would be through direct contact with the involved parties, which would reveal our presence. And I think the best way to reveal our presence is to leave the system and then approach it once more at warp. You know, not making any attempt to hide because this attempt at subterfuge would probably be seen as, suspicious. I think we've pretty much done everything we can here, unless there's anything anyone else thinks we can do.
Hearing no other volunteers for information, it sounds as if we have a decision here. So, you're preparing then to, are you prepared to give the order to reactivate warp engines and give or attempt to depart the system unseen?
No, I think the best way to get out of here would be to go back the way we came. Minimal power, just flow out, and then leave the system, and then act like we've only just been approaching the system.
Okay.
Because immediately activating our warp drive would alert everyone nearby instantly.
A very good catch. So let us see how that goes then, because that is still going to be one helm check that needs to be done. Um, Presuming you are ready to give the order there, Captain.
Let's see, what was our helm officer's rank?
The current one is Lieutenant Junior grade.
Um, is still Tackley, right?
Yeah, Tackley is
Okay.
still on the bridge.
Okay. Lieutenant Tackley, I think we've done everything we can here. Take us back to the gas giant. Let's get out of here.
Acknowledged. I am dropping one threat to increase the complication range on this roll by 1.
And can I use my direct action to give him the bonus of my command plus con? Or no, not con, command plus presence.
You may do that.
Awesome.
Alright, so the impulse task itself will only be a difficulty of, believe it would, normally it would be a difficulty 1. I'm going to say that difficulty is increased to 2 because he is working with minimal power and trying to correct for the inertia that you have built up.
Okay, do I increase the complication range of mine as well?
I don't believe you do.
Okay. Let me just roll mine. There we go.
All right, and that is a total of 4 successes on that task. So that will immediately award you 2 momentum.
Awesome.
Now, that the impulse activation does mean at least a brief flare up that the Tellarites might be able to detect. Obviously, not as considerable as the warp drive, but there
Right.
is still
The
the
idea is that there's a moon in the way, so
indeed,
the whole point was that we parked behind a moon. That if we did make any emissions of any kind, maybe the moon would absorb it. So hopefully
indeed.
the moon would mask our impulse, or our fusion thrusters, essentially.
That will definitely contribute to an increase in difficulty. I will still give you a difficulty of, or rather, the difficulty for the Tellarites will be set to 4 between the minimal power usage and um, the use of lunar placement in order to jam this. However, I am pumping a bit of threat into the Tellarites so that they may buy an additional die.
Cool.
And that is 3 successes. Let's see what the ship does.
Oh. Oh boy.
That was a very close for. The difficulty I did set was indeed 4. However, in going back over my prelim class cruiser sheets,
Do they have the advanced sensors thing that we do?
they have the exact sensor suite there.
Oh boy.
Yep. So that is going to be a detection. Ensign Crichton is going to put his hand to his earpiece. Captain, I believe I'm detecting some break in the EM interference generated by the flagship, or at least one of the Tellarite ships. There seems to be a signal going out from the main group to the outer system patrol.
Can you decode it, Ensign Crichton?
Attempting now. And just for a little bit of momentum juicing here, this is going to be an intercept task by Crichton. So let's open up his sheet here. I will say, as a general rule, rather between sessions, I may give you all access to some of these NPCs in order that you may conduct some of these roles yourselves in the event we do not have supporting characters. I, of course, want to maximize people's involvement here. So I will make that fix between now and then. But let's see, intercept, that would be insight and engineering, assisted by the ship's communications and security. So if somebody is willing to roll that for the ship, I'm going to say that the Tellarites encryption is going to be, it will be difficult enough to, I think I will give the task a 3 in difficulty. So we will see what Crichton can do, and he does at least have some focuses relevant to that. That will only be 1 success, so if one of you would like to roll for the ship, then you have that option.
What was the role for the ship?
Communications and security.
Sure, I got it. Ouch. Wait, null system? What? Oh, it's the
That
same score
is,
anyway. So.
yeah, sometimes the sheet doesn't exactly read properly. I'm uncertain as to why. But that is indeed
Roll 20 being weird.
Yes. No character sheet is perfect. Right. I'm uncertain as to what the signal is, sir.
All right, keep passive sensors trained on the outer ships. We are moving away from the moon, yeah, back in the direction we came from.
Indeed, you are. And at this
Okay.
moment, the passive sensors do activate specifically alarms from the science officer's console.
I quickly go over to my screen and look at it for a second and go, Captain, detecting several warp signatures from the outer system, and also near the planet. It looks like we have 4 ships en route.
To us?
Correct.
Oh boy. What are the Okay, action stations.
All right. With the absence of any other alert tone for now, I'm going to go above board and call this early installment weirdness for everyone. But we are just going to have a very brief, possibly slightly loud. I apologize if that's the case.
Yeah, right now we're still running off of read alert.
Oh, I can't say I'm familiar with that.
Yeah.
Anyway, yes, the alarms go off. The lights drop to a dark blue hue as klaxon begins to blare. Engineering sends up a report that they are giving you as much power as they can and trying to bring the engines to full readiness. Meanwhile, you do have hull plating polarized and weapons charging as you go to condition red. And sure enough, the within moments here, it takes probably about 30 seconds for the first set of signatures to drop out of warp in near proximity to you from the planet.
Would we have time to go to warp?
Um, a good question, to which Crichton inquires. Sir, bringing systems back online from the dark mode rather silent running is going to take us at least a few minutes to complete. I don't think that we'll be able to run that. Tackley turns over and says, "Yes, sir, I'm putting it as the ships in the outer system are going to intercept us in about 90 seconds. The planet-bound ships are going to be here in less than 20.
Get warp drive back as soon as possible.
Aye, sir. Sending word now."
Tellurite ships are probably quicker than us, sir.
Still a good option to have. They are probably faster than us, aren't they? Our top speed was what, 4 or 5?
Yep.
Okay.
Yes, 4 or 5 miles an hour.
4 to 5 miles an hour. Yes.
Yeah. And the Tellarites can
4.5.
The Tellarites can manage somewhere around, I believe, 5 or 6 actually.
So they're in between us and the Vulcans. Excellent.
Yeah. But yes, the Tellarite signatures begin assembling at warp, and we cut to this most dramatic shot.
Oh boy.
Not exactly to scale, but you shoot the money, or you shoot where I put the time in making the art.
That's good. I like that.
Oh, I guess now's a good time to open negotiations.
Lieutenant, I would agree. Ensign Crichton, hail the lead ship.
Opening a channel now, sir. Crichton will tap a few buttons at his console.
Wait, first, Commander Patel, what is the tactical status of the Tellurite ships?
Do you want me to roll for this, GM, or just wing it?
Go ahead and wing it. Presume they are on equivalent alert status.
Okay.
Put as much fluff on as you wish.
Do Tellarites have shields? I know Andorians do.
I believe that the Tellarites of this era do have shields.
Okay. Looks like they're running with shields up, Captain. From what I can tell, their weapons seem to be online, but not directly aiming at us just yet. Seems to be some kind of a standby mode.
Lieutenant Shearer, match their alert status. Don't lock onto anything unless I give the order.
Weapons ready, but not locked on.
Ensign Crichton, hail the lead ship.
Hailing the lead ship now, sir. And a few minutes like a minute or so passes as Crichton conducts throws out the this is the Earth Starship Aegis, hailing the Tellarite vessel. Please respond. This is the Earth ship Aegis. Respond, please. Pretty please?
Pretty please?
The entire bridge just turns to look at Ensign Crichton.
I'm doing my best here.
Ensign Crichton looks straight into the camera.
Manners sometimes help. And with that on the view screen, an a very aged, gray-bearded and gray-haired Tellarite appears on the view screen, seated in most, he looks as though he's perpetually trying to get comfortable in his seat without shifting too much, but to no avail. You almost get the sense that this man has never looked entirely comfortable in his life, nor slept a truly decent day. But
right,
he, sure enough, it is the same Tellarite that you saw broadcasting, or on the broadcast just days ago. One you would know as and Admiral Clochon.
This is Captain Anthony Barton of the SS Aegis. Admiral Clochon, I don't believe we've had the pleasure, but I do know your name and I have seen your face.
Earth vessel, heave to and prepare to be boarded. You have violated the exclusion zone of the Alpha Centauri system. This is under the protection of of my fleet of the United Colonies of Tellar.
Admiral Clochon, do you speak for the government of Tellar?
I speak with all the appropriate authority that I require, Captain.
With all due respect, Admiral, you didn't answer my question.
And your question is hardly worth the acknowledgement here, as is your ship.
Well then, I should be required to inform you, Admiral, that if you do speak for the government of these United Colonies of Tellar, this very much would be considered an act of aggression by United Earth. Are you prepared to accept the consequences of such an act?
If the
You have violated our space, proceeded to support a military takeover of one of our colonies. One might ask why.
Captain Barton, is it? That's not the situation that I see here. I see a thriving planet that is ready to strike out on its own and has declared independence. We see the need to protect these newly independent peoples as they have requested our aid. I don't care whatever empty threats you and your imperious United Earth. He seems to have picked up at least one Earth mannerism because he does throw out air quotes at you.
Imperialist, is that what Governor Slocum told you?
Well, I'm honestly doubting it if the best they can scrounge up is an obsolete garbage scow. I must say, I am unsurprised that we didn't detect your vessel. Our sensors were generally screening out cosmic gases and space debris, worthless materials.
At that, Captain Barton will actually smile a little bit. Not like a rueful smile or anything, but like a little bit of like, yeah, Aegis is a old one.
Yes, and an ugly one too.
With respect, Admiral, we didn't come here to bandy threats.
Is that not the reason you are here, to take back this world and reimpose your colonial rule?
As opposed to what? Your colonial rule, Admiral? Look, what we came here to do was, as I'm sure you've gathered, you unexpectedly detected us, and we're here primarily to gather information to get a better gauge of the situation, because this is a surprising turn of events for all of us. We're not here to reconquer or reclaim a world that we think belongs in our pocket. With that said, we do have questions about you, your people, your government, and the government that would run this place. I don't know what.
Questions of governance of this planet lie with its duly elected and appointed representatives. I am here at their behest.
Of course, United Earth, of course, believes in democracy. And I'm gonna quickly step out of character here for 1 second. What is it that we gathered about Governor Slocum again?
You may recall that he was a governor appointed by Earth, and back I want to say 2148. So about 5 years relative from this time frame. There were some protests to his rule. Part of that being, as there always is with Alpha Centauri, because they have been they've tried to become an independent colony a couple times in the past. often through non-violent means, but there had been some violence previously. Part of it, though, there's some understanding that he may have been dipping a little bit into some funds, either from United Earth or revenue he extracted from Alpha Centauri, and it was starting to grow a little bit. Rather the
Okay.
backlash.
Admiral, did he tell you that he was democratically elected?
He acknowledged, the governor has acknowledged that he is he was an appointed figurehead, and that he is a figure in transition as the government establishes itself. The independence movement has only been declared recently, but so far as I am concerned, and so far as I am aware, independence is the popular will of Alpha Centauri. So I still regard them as the legitimate government.
A Earth-appointed governor as a legitimate government of Alpha Centauri. Would that not, by extension, make him subject to his government? I'm looking
He
over in the chat on the side, and I'm looking over in the chat on the side, and Ensign Conley, which I don't believe I've had the pleasure of meeting, does bring up an interesting point. As an appointed quote unquote employee, then United Earth has the right to recall said quote unquote employee.
that would apply if he were still in your employ, but this is all getting so tiresome here. The question of Alpha Centauri's governance is not my concern. What is my concern is protecting the government such that it exists. If you have an issue with that, you can send your negotiators and work it out on your own time. For now, I am
Admiral,
going to.
we have no issue with the governance of Alpha Centauri. What we have issue in particular with is Governor Slocum. We do have evidence of some crimes he's committed, namely embezzlement. He has used Alpha Centauri as his own personal launching platform for, well, obviously this, which is culminated into us meeting under these circumstances today, which is terrible, frankly. We should not be pointing charged weapons at each other.
I haven't
Additionally,
started targeting you yet, but I'm running out of
well,
patience.
there are ways to resolve this in a more civilized manner. So, Lieutenant Shira, stand down weapons, please.
Standing down weapons.
We do not. I do that as a show of good faith. We do not come here with ill intent. We don't want to shoot at anyone. But if you must board us, we have nothing to hide. You keep saying over and over that Governor Slocum, as of the moment, even in such a transitionary state, is the legitimate ruler of Alpha Centauri, but his forces, and by extension yours, have enacted what amounts to martial law upon the surface. A curfew, enforced by, well, some means. Keeping the citizens of that world under the thumb of guns. You keep saying it's a legitimate rule, and definitionally, any government that must use the threat of violence to keep itself propped up is not legitimate.
And how exactly do you know that there's any sort of curfew going along, Captain?
Well, I told you, Admiral, we came here to gather intelligence, and that is what we have done.
The expression on his face, already what could be generously described as mildly irritated or sitting on a lump in his chair, has transitioned to both very slight impatience, growing impatience, but also irritation as he briefly looks off screen.
Ensign Crichton, go ahead and play that recording about the curfew, if you would, for the benefit of the Admiral, please.
And Crichton replays the staticky bit of mentioning the current status of curfews.
Admiral Clochon, we appreciate your assistance in this matter. Really, we do. We appreciate your commitment to protecting the independence of these people. United Earth wants nothing more than to discuss this with the people of Alpha Centauri and reach an accommodating compromise for everyone involved. Your stake in this matter, we appreciate your help. Truly, we do.
And what exactly are you looking to gain from this help? Do you need what proof of the proof that the people of Alpha Centauri find this agreeable? Are you simply trying to convince us to lower our guard so that you can affect a great deal, or is perhaps the information you seek merely the prelude to assembling a strike force of your own and proving the
Admiral,
governor correct?
I'm sure you've scanned my I'm sure you've scanned my ship thoroughly. Garbage scow, while perhaps a bit unkind, in comparison, Aegis, well, let's just say we couldn't stand up in a fight.
You are right, I am not quite correct, as he says, reviewing a Tellarite pad. The Aegis would not qualify truly as a garbage scow. It rather ought to be hauled away as garbage.
Maybe. If the independence of Alpha Centauri is is what its citizens truly want, that can certainly be discussed. United Earth, we don't consider ourselves conquerors or overlords or anything like that. But this is still very much if that needs to be discussed, that is very much a internal United Earth matter, which would be best left to us. Now, if you would like to supervise the process and open dialogues with more of our more accomplished diplomats, we would very much be open to that as well. The United Colonies of Tellar and United Earth, there has not been very much of a dialogue between our two great nations. And we, as representatives of United Earth, would like to change that.
Yes, I'm sure that you have ample capacity to represent your government. There's a slight smile plays across, but he's... Captain, give me an insight check. This would specifically be insight and command. And this roll
Okay.
will go uncontested, so just base difficulty of 1.
Okay. Let's see. I have a focus in diplomacy.
That would apply here, I think.
Very well. And I have 2. I'm gonna burn a momentum and bump it up to 3.
Sure thing.
Okay.
All right, so
All right.
that will earn you
That's
back
2.
the momentum with 2 successes.
Awesome.
Kloshon's body language and the way he's starting to carry himself just appears to be utterly disdainful of every word you were saying at this point. Like, there might be some recognition of salient points, but you're starting to get the impression that he's managing you at this point. He's viewing this whole process as just absolute annoyance, and he by no means sees this as a serious discussion. And I'm sure that you have ample power to negotiate on behalf of your government, but really, Captain, I'm not. My interest is what Alpha Centauri has to say, and if Governor Slocum wishes to have a discussion, then perhaps you can reach out to him at some point. Or,
Very
and
well. Will
when
you allow us to do so?
want me to open a you want me to open a communication channel between yourself and the planet, is that it?
Well, we could certainly do that, but considering that you have my vessel surrounded with 6 of your own, I would consider you to hold at least most of the cards here. I'm sorry. Earth, turn the phrase. I would consider you to hold most of the power in this situation.
Indeed I do. I will consider relaying your request. And with that, Kloshon is actually going to cut the communications line as and he's just going to, as the screen will flit out and you see the Tellarite ships ahead of you. So, brief moment to discuss amongst yourselves.
Okay. To be frank, it doesn't seem like the Admiral is much interested in listening to what we have to say.
I,
I wonder if there's more than. I wonder if there is more going on than even Clochon realizes.
Why do you say that, Lieutenant?
I know he seemed surprised there was a curfew down there, and he doesn't seem fully informed about what's going on Alpha Centauri.
Wait, did he seem surprised that there was a curfew?
that would be. One might conclude that is the case. He could have just as easily been irritated by the fact that you were able to learn about that, because it did require Crichton essentially breaking part of their jamming, or finding
Okay.
a frequency.
Okay. So there, like, it's difficult to tell where the surprise was, but there was some level of surprise involved in that.
No.
Hmm. Well, if the admiral's forces are involved in the curfew, he keeps repeating, that he's only interested in the opinions of the Alpha Centauri people. But if his forces are involved in the curfew, then well,
Hmm.
it seems a bit of a contradiction that he should hold the opinions of said people in such high regard while also holding them under his thumb. So,
Would Shira know anything about how many ground forces these Tellarite ships would ordinarily carry?
Give me one reason and security roll. I'll call that just a difficulty 1 roll.
Reason, security.
Once again, opportunity to juice a little bit of momentum there.
Yeah, we have 4 right now.
Roll dice. 1 success.
All right. Well, that is enough to recall that these Tellarite vessels, depending upon their configuration, they have fairly extensive cargo bays, so they are very capable of hauling a lot of material. In previous conflicts, the Tellarites have been able to use them to easily carry somewhere on the order of like dozens to up to maybe a couple hundred troops per ship, at least for the cruisers. And you are indeed dealing with the Tellarite cruisers from what you've been able to determine.
Hmm.
Do we have?
So they may have about possibly 1,000 troops, maybe.
Yeah. Presuming
If
they
they
were
were,
at full wartime complement, but
yeah.
that's
It doesn't seem enough to really enforce a global curfew. Maybe just enough to help secure the local government and important buildings.
Do we have the technology and the range on our sensors to be able to like scan for Tellarite life signs on the planet to get a rough idea of how many there might be?
You may attempt that. There are still some Tellarite vessels that remain in reserve near the planet, and they are conducting jamming operations, some electronic warfare, which may interfere with your sensor scans.
I'm gonna give it a shot.
Okay, that will be reason science difficulty of 1, or rather, no, difficulty should probably at least be up to. With the interference, I'm going to call that 3, and I am. You do get the sensors and science to assist. However, I am also dropping 1 threat to increase your complication range by, uh, or increase the complication range to 2.
Okie dokie. I'm gonna spend at least 1 momentum. I don't want to spend 3 momentum to upgrade twice without conferring with everybody else. But
Sure
of the
thing.
4, can I spend 3 of them?
I mean, if you really want to, I do have a slight concern that, like, if we scan the surface, that might annoy the Tellarites more than they already are. But I mean, if you want to, go for it.
I'm just gonna spend 1.
Oh yeah, and
Oh,
the
you
ship
forgot
helps as
the.
well, doesn't it?
Yeah, and you did need to increase the dice roller by 1 there. So if you just want to, actually, if you want to drop it down and then roll a second, or roll a third die rather, then that should get us.
What would it be for the ship?
Wait. The complication range I already set to 2, though. Was
But
that also?
I thought you bought an additional die with
Oh, you're right.
momentum.
You're right. I did.
Yeah,
I'm dumb.
that
Sorry.
was the issue.
Boom.
All right, that
Excellent.
is 3 successes. And to your question, Artem, that would be sensors and science for the ship.
Okie dokie. There we go.
I
That
may
works.
also re-roll that d20 with my technical expertise.
That is correct.
Wait, does the ship roll again?
Yep.
Yep.
Cool.
Hey,
4
Very
successes.
nice. 4 successes.
nice.
All right, so you get the dice back, or rather the momentum back, as it were.
+1.
Yep. Here,
Oh god, how does this work? Ah,
just go ahead and delete that one. I am going to deal one out to you.
thank you.
So, your sensor sweep does indeed reach the planet, or break through some of the interference. You get a vague sense that there are indeed some Tellarite life signs, but most of it is the human colony. It's hard to get exact numbers even with that level of success, but what what analysis you can get would suggest that there are probably not nearly as many Tellarites as Shira would suggest would be would be optimal if the Tellarites had like a full load for exactly this purpose.
So are we talking tens, hundreds?
Still probably, I'd say possibly close to like uh, maybe 100 or like 100 to 200 range,
Okay.
but not a
That ballpark. Okay.
yeah.
Again, we can't get an exact number.
Probably just enough to secure a couple of important sites and a liaison team with Governor Slocum.
Probably.
Yeah, comm relay, government HQ, maybe spaceport.
Yeah. So that means that's not enough to control. Frank, that's not enough to control the major city on the planet.
Yeah.
That
No,
means
because
Slocum must have local security personnel on site, perhaps.
he must. Yeah, the population of Alpha Centauri is several hundred thousand. So, or 700,000. So yeah, no, 100 Tellarite security personnel is not going to be able to hold that. Um,
Hmm.
I would like to see if we can try to speak to some actual Alpha Centauri people,
hmm
because all we've had now so far is communication with this Tellarite admiral and Governor Slocum waffling on about stuff.
At this moment, the comms panel lights up. Sir, I have active hail from Admiral Clushon.
Put him up.
And with a few taps to the comms console, there's a few Enterprise stock sound effects, and the screen goes back to the bridge of the Admiral's flagship.
Admiral.
Oh, Mr. Barton. Notice
Captain Barton.
whatever you want to call yourself. It makes little difference to me, as does the strength of your ship, and whatever claims you have to make. The governor is presently indisposed, so you shall have to return at a later time. My sensors officer
Well,
tells me that your warp engines are operational, so I suggest you make a very good use of them and depart this system immediately.
what is the governor disposed with? Indisposed. I apologize.
Oh, I'm afraid I couldn't say. I didn't bother him or his assistant.
Well, then I will. Ensign Crichton, raise his office.
The Admiral Clochon snaps and points off screen. I'm afraid that your that conversation isn't going to be happening, Captain. Now do I have to repeat myself?
I'm sorry, let me make this situation clear. Admiral Clochon, you, as a representative of the United Colonies of Tellar, are interfering in an internal Earth matter. Do I have the situation gamed out correctly?
No, I don't think you do, Mr. Barton. As I see it, I am supporting an independent government that has requested requested our aid. Deal with a would-be imperial power trying to jealously guard its its colonial holdings, rather inadequately, as with much I've seen from your Earth vessel here.
I'm sorry, did the government of Alpha Centauri reach out to you, or did Governor Slocum reach out to you?
Well, so far as I know, there isn't much of a difference.
So far as you know, so the single autocratic rule of Governor Slocum represents the people's will of Alpha Centauri. Is that what you're telling me?
Oh, Captain, we could have debates on the finer points of politics all day, but
No, this
that
isn't the finer points of politics. This is the basic difference between democracy and authoritarianism. And what you are doing is propping up an authoritarian government while claiming that we are said fascists. I'm sorry, there's a complete disconnect here in what you're doing and what you're saying.
well, but allow me to make it a little more consistent. And he gives a gesture to someone else off screen. Um, at which point, tactical and science stations both have alarms indicating a sensor lock on the Aegis. Now, are you going to take my exceedingly generous offer to get out of this star system while your ship is still just barely intact? Or do I need to finish making you space debris?
Captain Barton will sit there for a moment and take a deep breath. Out of the interest of the lives of my crew, Admiral, we will leave. I have been instructed by my superiors to do everything I can to bring this to a peaceful resolution.
Well, I'm sure when the
I've
legitimate government of Alpha Centauri reaches out to you, your two peoples can find whatever peace or accommodation or whatever works best for all parties. Until then, this pathetic attempt at uh, outreach, intimidation, espionage, whatever your true aims are here. It all just doesn't measure up to me.
Admiral, we have informed you thoroughly of what our true aims are here. Whether or not you believe them is up to you. I've also been required to inform you by my superiors that any continued military presence in the system would be considered an act of aggression by the United Earth government. I've done everything I can. Thank you for your time, Admiral. Lieutenant Tackley, reverse course. Take us out of the system.
With that, Tackley will begin to position the ship away, and Clochon will simply give a final. Smooth sailing, as I understand Earthers say, Mr. Barton. And he'll cut the comms.
Captain. Okay.
Yep.
Seems to have picked up quite a few human things. Gestures, phrases. So he's been amongst humans for a reasonable amount of time.
I would say the same thing.
And as you say this, Tackley will engage warp engines and start moving you out of the system. So, with quite considerable disrespect and intimidation with the force of his fleet, Admiral Clochon has basically given you the boot for now. Yes. With that, how would you like to proceed as you leave the system?
Oh boy. Well, I think we've reached the. I guess we can do a scene for this. I guess I'll call a staff meeting, as we leave the system.
All right. As you go here, Tackley is as you call it later, Tackley is going to report that he is feeling just very slightly under the weather and will send along an alternate representative. The conversation of which goes something like this whilst passing around the officers' lounge. Tackley popping by briefly, looking at finding the shuttle pilot nearest the door and saying, "Hey, can you fill in for me on something? I need to go sort something out."
Ensign Wade is like looking around like, who, me?
Yeah, you're the first one that responded, so get to it.
Right away, sir.
Carrying the tray of food with you, I would imagine. Let's see, and let me locate the. Where did the? We had a conference room the last time. I don't understand this. One moment whilst the conference room gets replicated here.
Computer conference room, cold.
Yes, conference room, 68 degrees Fahrenheit.
What is the comfortable temperature range of Andorians? They live on a nice planet after all.
If you can't see your breath, then it's too warm.
I see. I just spent a week in Florida. I imagine the weather down there would kill an Andorian.
If it's not the heat that gets you, it'll be the humidity.
It wasn't so bad. It was a couple mornings were pretty bad, but it was mostly around 60%. It wasn't so bad.
Or the Zindi. I mean,
yeah, that too.
Yeah.
Right.
Too soon.
Right. Too soon.
Yes, very, very much too soon. I half feel tempted to take threat for that one.
I was out of character, of course.
Of course.
Yeah, no, I think the temperature in certain parts of Florida reaches a few million Kelvin, huh? Yeah. Anyways.
Oh.
Ugh.
Uh, we have fun here, particularly when the Tellarites aren't insulting us. Okay, so let's see. Just actually, I have the conference room up. I'm going to pull everyone from the theater of the mind. So we get an external shot of the Aegis warping away from Alpha Centauri. You have the classic streak of stars in space as the ship flies by the screen. Um, it was definitely it's definitely there was a very tense moment for a time, and as you make your way from various parts of the ship, there was some feel of tension as the crew very narrowly evaded what could have been a very dicey situation. Um, but yeah, there's kind of I suppose there'd be a mixed sentiment of on one hand you've at least made it away with your lives, but on the other, um, the Tellarites seem to be at least ready or spoiling for some sort of further conflict, possibly, or at least didn't take you seriously enough to think otherwise. So we cut down here. I'm going to also throw in NPCs. Creighton will be available for anything there, and I'm going to say that Chief Fernier is the representative engineering could spare. He'll actually be in slightly later, but just before the meeting starts, he will explain. I'm sorry I couldn't join your. We couldn't send someone up earlier, Captain. Without the chief, things have been just a little bit hectic, and we had a few minor complications making sure that the engines are functioning properly. Nothing to worry about now. We have it all under control, but engineer's mate is keeping an eye on things.
Thank you, Chief. As Ensign Conley walks in, I'll just like look at him. Ensign Conley?
Yes, Captain. I was told to replace the helmsman. Apparently, he was a little under the weather, I guess. And he'll just kind of like look around to see where he should sit or what should he do.
The captain will nod with a bit of a perplexed look. All right, Ensign. That's not really like a reason to skip out on a staff meeting, feeling a bit under the weather. Um,
I wouldn't know anything about that.
yeah, no, I mean like that's mostly Captain Barton's internal musing. I'll go over to a panel and ask the ship to locate Lieutenant Tackley.
Um, as the ship does not have an internal or rather the computerized voice as of yet. The call does go up to the bridge, which reports that Tackley is presently outside of his quarters.
Okay. Since he's feeling a bit under the weather, I'll ask where are our supporting character? I'm sorry, our ship NPCs. Which one? What was our nurse's name?
That would be.
Marple.
Yep.
Uh, I'm gonna ring up Nurse Marple. Nurse Marple, go check on Lieutenant Tackley. He said he was feeling a bit under the weather. He's outside of his quarters at the moment.
Yes, sir. Right away.
Thank you. All right. Okay. For the sake of brevity, I will. I guess we'll. Do we have a like recording of the entire conversation with the Tellarites in 4K Ultra HD?
Remastered
Yes.
specifically for this. I will say that all of that is available, and
Yeah.
everyone that is for everyone's benefit here, you have all characters have as much awareness as that would deliver. You know what happened in the scene, like you were
Yes.
watching the stream.
Thoughts, people?
Conley just kind of raises his hands.
You don't need to raise your hand, Ensign. Go ahead.
And he's like, kind of lowers it, and he's like, two things. What does the official Tellarite government say about this? And
I'm
two, who was running the government of Centauri before the governor took over?
Those are both very good questions. I can only imagine the United Earth government is working on reaching out to the United Colonies of Tellar for comment. Who was the governor before Slocum?
Uh, Mr. Crichton intercedes. They did have a previous governor. I don't have the information on file here, nor. I admit I didn't keep up on as much information from home as I probably should have. But
Wait, from home?
yes, sir. Alpha Centauri is my home.
Mm-mm.
What's your parents' phone number? We got to make a call.
Oh, I wish I remembered, but they changed it, and well, I haven't tried since. Additionally, I would need. It's more of a local intercom situation, so I would need to be down on the surface in order to get a hold of them.
What's a phone number?
Plus, there's international charges, and that always eats through your credit. You know.
Cellular fees, yeah.
I don't have unlimited minutes, I'm afraid to say. Oh,
Just
but
use
That-
WhatsApp, dude.
what's
That brings up my point. Like,
what is
there
app?
anyone we? Go ahead.
Sorry, I was just continuing the jokes there. But in essence, the answers that Crichton would give would say they're basically Slocum, the current governor and now leader of the quote-unquote independent Alpha Centauri, would be essentially he's just the latest in a line of rotating governors that Earth appoints from time to time. They are all as they have been since Earth assumed control of the colony, people appointed directly by Earth for Alpha Centauri's governance.
Is there anyone who is an actual Alpha Centauri? Anyone in the government or in control or a political person?
They should have
Some-
a local legislature, shouldn't they?
We did, sir, Lieutenant, up until the well, the bit of unpleasantry with the last the uprising. I'm sorry to say, there had actually been an effort to. There'd been non-binding resolutions they were pressing to release some members of the civil society that had been pressing non-violently, I will say, for independence. Unfortunately, their arrest and the escalations by the governor triggered sort of an armed conflict between protesters who were trying to act in their own defense versus our um, Crichton's a little uncomfortable as he tries to go through the explanation.
Speak freely.
In essence, sir, the Centauri were protesting peacefully, and during the last wave of protests, essentially it came down to the last governor was looking to try and close out those protests. They wound up triggering an armed response. There was a rebellion. My people almost actually did win independence, or did almost defeat forces, but Earth was able to dispatch a Mako mission to the planet and successfully quashed that.
Kieran's like scrolling through a pad, basically reading the official history or whatever while Crichton is going through this verbally. And and then he says, "I see here there's a reference to a leader of some type, a Titus something, Titus Olite."
Yes, he's been one of the major political figures in the uh, agitating essentially for independence. He was placed under arrest and is presently still, so far as I know, on the probably in the New Zealand penal colony.
Arrested for what charges?
Uh, I must say that I don't recall the precise charges at the moment. I think there was some accusation tied to possibly some bit of sedition or something of the sort, conspiracy. It was in the aftermath of the it was in the aftermath of the armed rebellion, so they were probably targeting people they believed to be central figures.
I see.
How popular was this Mr. Olite?
Oh, he definitely had a way with words back in the day, sir, and he was very much. He had been working for the better part of a decade, I think, to conduct or to build his movement for independence.
Well, then it's much more likely that this Mr. Elite would represent the will of the people much more than Governor Slocum claims to.
Indeed. Um, and to clarify, since you are looking through this, I realize I had flubbed a small bit of the timeline. Crichton did not remember his details correctly. There's not been a colony-wide legislature actually for going on, let's see, at this point, a few decades. It was last properly in effect in 2118, shortly before the Earth colony took over. There have been some advisory councils and local legislatures for some of the settlements that would advise the governor on some issues, but it seems that there hasn't been any legally binding body essentially since the governor took over. What Creighton had been referring to was basically a figurehead sort of legislative council, one that could vote on some matters but did not have any legal force to override the governor.
Mm. So if they don't trust Alpha Centauri with governing itself, I assume they also don't trust it with its own security.
What
So
do you
are
mean,
there
Lieutenant?
Makos on the surface, or were there was there a Mako group there?
That's a good question. If there was an installed Earth government, there would have to be some means of enforcing it, would there not?
Well, the Earth did at sometimes maintain a Mako detachment there, and I believe that there might have been a small posting on the planet, but, well, contact with them was lost right around the same time. Most of the colony's defenses, however, are centered around colonial militia. Uh, there's been a policy at home to keep a low footprint of sorts and uh, allow the governor to maintain the defense of the colony in some manners, at least for local enforcement measures. They don't want Mako to become an occupying army, or Starfleet for
Right.
that matter.
So Slocum essentially is in charge of the colonial militia there.
That would be accurate.
That's probably how he's keeping the planet under military curfew.
Yes. If there is a Mako detachment, they would have been targeted straight away.
It just strikes me as odd. Why would what kind of people would, you know, ally themselves with this kind of dictator?
If they stand to gain something from it.
I suppose.
We need to get down there and start asking questions.
I agree. But the only way we can get down there is through subterfuge, which I fear would raise the ire of the Tellarites even more, or essentially through force. Neither is particularly appealing. The Tellarites don't seem interested in talking.
Which is a
There
pity.
is,
Subterfuge is the only way forward.
Captain, there is also the option of the Ithanite freighter
I was
that's
thinking
currently
about that.
on its way.
I mean, presumably that falls under the definition of subterfuge, right?
Would the freighter be going to the surface?
I don't think we established if Alpha Centauri has like a space dock or anything, so I assume it would be landing.
A number of cargo vessels do have some landing capability. I believe the Athenites would probably have the same, at least touching down a part of their ship at the starport. It would be a long unloading operation.
I mean, Starfleet folks have the authority to search ships and stuff, right? If we think there's something suspicious about them. So it wouldn't look too suspicious if we decide to search this freighter that's coming in.
Or we
And then if maybe some of us get left on board.
could also ask to hitch a ride.
Possibly.
I mean, yeah, that.
And I'm sure we could trade them something for that.
I mean, I've got lots of stuff we could trade for it. Like, believe me, I'm well aware of just how valuable the stuff we've got in here is, at least in my room. But I don't know how happy your bosses would be with getting rid of some of that.
If I recall, Lieutenant Tackley has quite a few collectibles that can be used for barter.
Right, but I think he's rather attached to those.
Well, let's just find out what the Athenites would want.
I suppose. I think the first thing to do in this situation, though, is to apprise command of the situation. Let them know what conversations have transpired, the strength of the Tellarites, their unwillingness to negotiate.
Would you like me to connect would you like me to connect a line to Admiral Gardner and uh, see if we can get them down into broadcast down into the conference room, sir? Or would you prefer
Are
a
we within
private
range?
channel?
Are we within range for a subspace link?
Well, we
A
are.
live one?
I suspect that at this range we are well closer than even Echo 1 is, sir. Now that we're operating back at full power, I could very likely arrange a fairly close to real-time link.
Right. Yeah,
If
put them
you
up.
if you wish to make this a scene, I will give you the option to either say that you relay the information to command and just uh, enact plans as you wish. I can have you, or I can let you take a scene either with yourself and Gardner or with the crew here and the admiral, depending upon your preference.
No, let's do the gang and Gardner. Put them up on the communications panel, Anson Crichton, please.
Aye, sir. Um, and so Crichton will send a signal to the bridge in order to coordinate with the communications officer in the appropriate location. Um, it will take a few moments as they patch through a signal to Starfleet Command. However, within I would say a few short minutes here. Um, the channel will connect, and you will get a transmission from Gardner. He appears to be rubbing his temple just a little bit. It is night in San Francisco from the look out of the window, and he's looking over a few pads at this point. Um, but yes, he appears on the screen. Captain Barton, what is?
Admiral.
Oh, what's the situation?
Well, sir, we're leaving the Admiral's Alpha Centauri system. We proceeded running dark into the system to gather information. We were unfortunately detected by the Tellarites, and after a terse conversation, they politely asked us to leave.
Oh, well, I presume you were able to escape unscathed.
Yes, they kindly showed us the door with their phasers locked on us. Or I'm sorry, phase cannons. What's a phaser?
You know, that is kind of catchy, Captain.
Shrug.
Yep. Uh, not realize, not realizing that you are it with others. He's going to say, he's going to let down his guard very slightly. Well, this is at least it's an improvement over what the diplomatic corps training has managed us before. Archer was getting his ass kicked every other week from the reports I could gather.
All right. Well, my communications officer and I'll look over at Crichton. Will get you a downlink of the appropriate conversations, engineering logs, methods we use to get into the system. The Tellarites. I spoke with one Admiral Closhon. He appears to be the leader of the Tellarite detachment here. He appears to truly believe that he is safeguarding the independence and authority of the Alpha Centauri colony, although the only independence that he's propping up is really Governor Slocum. I wasn't able to raise him. He was apparently indisposed, and we certainly weren't able to take him in.
Well, that's not an ideal outcome and does significantly increase the chance that we're going to have to use force to exercise them. It's
With
unfortunate.
respect, sir, I disagree. Admiral Closhon didn't really appear to take this singular Daedalus class vessel seriously, but a few more ships in the system, without even projecting force, would perhaps have him reevaluate his stance. As ordered, we did deliver the message that their presence would be considered an act of aggression, but he and I both knew that this singular vessel would not be able to enforce said request.
Well, if you can send any information that you managed to get along the way, then I will at the very least make sure that we pass that along to the rest of the fleet. At present, our task force should be able to join you in probably at least another week. We are considering also dispatching vessels from Earth in order to reinforce this, depending upon the overall status. As it is, General Winfield should be bringing the marshals in, yes, within the week time frame.
Admiral, if I could offer an opinion.
Go right ahead.
Given the planet's history with Makos and suppressing insurrections, I don't. With the opinions of a couple Alpha Centaurians taken into account, sending in more military to keep putting these people down, I don't. We as Starfleet, we're not a military organization. It's not our job to keep putting these people down. We're explorers, Admiral, with respect.
Captain, I don't disagree with your characterization, and there may yet be a broader point here. But this is this is somewhat out of our control. These orders are coming from Prime Minister Samuels himself, and what's worse is that if we don't take a sufficiently hard line on this matter, then they might shift the orientation of our Chief of Staff more in Mako's purview. And that's going to put a severe crimp on future exploration. That said, if we could avoid this conflict as much as possible, then I would certainly I think we would all find that preferable. Even the Makos, as this is likely to be a very difficult clash, even with as much fleet power as we can marshal.
I understand.
Have you determined any other possible options as far as either perhaps contact with Alpha Centauri or indeed anything that you might be able to get from the Tellarites or any party in this regard?
I think I have done all the talking that I can with the Tellarites and their leadership. There is a Ithanite freighter nearby, which it's possible we may be able to stow away on board and make it to the surface that way. Other than that, our options are limited, Admiral.
Well, I'm granting you the purview you need to do what you do. If you can determine some sort of advantage, then you're out there on the front lines at present, so I'll back your play as much as I can. But just be careful.
Of course, Admiral. One final thing. It may be possible to open the Tellarites up to negotiations a bit more. The Admiral is interested in his own, with his own words, in protecting the will of the people of Alpha Centauri. It is known to Admiral Clochon that Governor Slocum is perhaps an unpopular figure. There is the Alpha Centaurian citizen that was arrested about a decade ago, Mr. Titus Olite. If we could bring him to speak on behalf of the people of Alpha Centauri, that may perhaps open Admiral Clochon's ears. I also wasn't able to get a straight answer from the Tellarites about whether or not they represented the United Colonies of Tellar, their official government. It may be worth reaching out to them if possible.
We'll see what we can do. At present, Prime Minister Samuels is still in talks with the Vulcans, seeing if they would be willing to help us in any regard. Unfortunately, even with the intervention of the Tellarites here, they still deem this as an internal Earth matter and have restrained themselves from dispatching a fleet. So we are.
I'm certain the High Command wishes to avoid an armed confrontation with the Tellarites as well. So,
Load of good it's doing us. But we will see if we can explore some sort of diplomatic contact through them and possibly affect some diplomatic solution that way. We'll do everything we can on our end, try to head off a full-scale confrontation.
Sorry to interrupt, but I believe could we contact one of the previous organizers of a rebellion that's imprisoned on Earth?
Uh, the admiral looks. The admiral peeks around and makes out the ensign that's making that chimed up. That may be something we can arrange with, provided I get approval from the Prime Minister. If there's any discussion of negotiating formally with Alpha Centauri, Samuels is taking the line that we that we shouldn't have to take a diplomatic tack with these insurrectionists. However, there's other strategies at play, then we might be able to do something. Well, what exactly did you have in mind there, Ensign?
Um, actually, more of just intel on who's on the ground. Um, if there is a way around Governor Solcombe, at least for the people, the actual people of Alpha Centauri, and not the imposed government.
Oh, we will do what we can to arrange do what we can to arrange contact with them, but I can make no guarantees on this regard. So, anything else any of you would like to put to the Admiral, or like while he's still on the line?
I guess just a question, more of an out of character question about like how we want to run scenes with the admiral. Like, are we all free to just pipe up, or because I would generally defer to the captain.
I would say that, well,
Like how would the captain like to run the ship? I
yeah,
guess is what I'm.
You guys are free to do whatever you want, but you know, Captain Martin might have something to say about piping up unexpectedly.
yeah.
Up to you to find out.
I'd say plucky ensign plucky ensign piping into a flak officer is an appropriate trope to at least have once, and that we can set further precedent from here. How does that sound?
That
I
sounds
love
fine
it.
to me.
Okay, Patel looks like he has things to say, but he is waiting until the call is over.
All right. Admiral Gardner, my communications officer, will send you all the appropriate mission logs for your review at a later time. It looks like it's pretty late over in San Francisco, so I'll let you get back to whatever it is you were doing.
Well, if you're able to send reports before your next move, then keep us apprised, and we'll keep you up to date as far as the task force goes.
All right.
Command out.
All right, I'll nod, and the communication line blinks out.
All right. So yeah, you are back amongst yourselves.
All right. I'm going to tell Ensign Crichton to send command all the appropriate logs and inform them that our next move is likely to be to contact the Ithanite freighter and see if we can get into the colony itself through that avenue. Commander Patel, it sounded like it looked like you had a burning question.
Just a thought, Captain. It would seem to me to reason that a truly independent Alpha Centauri is preferable to one under the thumb of an alien power. And it seems to me like we have an opportunity to make that happen. If we can't bring them back into the fold completely, that's surely the next best alternative.
I was thinking something similar, Commander Patel. For years, Alpha Centauri has struggled to, well, be a part of the fold, as you put it. They've been jostling and bucking for their own independence, and unless United Earth is willing to enforce government upon these people, their independence is what they wish for.
I think Earth's own history demonstrates the course of action, Captain, and I speak from my own background as well, coming from a previously colonized people.
I can sympathize with that. In that field, it's up to the government with what they want to do there. As far as I'm concerned, Starfleet is an exploratory agency, not a military one.
Understood. Just putting out ideas there, Captain.
Right.
Patel, as you say these things, and indeed as the conversation carries on, Crichton does actually perk up a little bit, or he seems not as if he has anything to say necessarily, but perhaps he nods a little bit, sort of acknowledging the maybe a very subtle agreement. Crichton will remember this.
Ensign Crichton liked that. All right. Does anyone else have anything to add?
Not to necessarily go any trend into the territory of a sycophant or anything, Captain, but I would say you did quite well on the diplomacy training end. I don't understand why the Tellarites weren't more receptive.
That did strike me as odd as well. They really seemed very firmly committed to the governor's cause, but as advanced as they are, they should know that Governor Slocum is not the most appealing of individuals.
I mean, these are Tellarites, right? Though they disagree with basically everyone about everything. Like, you should not be expecting to get them to agree with you at the end of an argument.
Well, they're shall we say, aggressively. They're aggressive in their diplomacy, but you can get them to agree with you on things.
I mean, yeah, admittedly, I don't know Tellarites in general all that well, but that's the impression I get.
So what you're saying is they're stubborn and argumentative.
Oh, very.
Oh,
yeah,
good.
in
Good.
more ways than one. Yeah.
Good. Maybe I should have insulted him a few times.
I mean, it would have been a laugh at minimum. Yeah.
I shall update our diplomatic protocols at once.
Oh,
Belay that order, Ensign Crichton. All right. It looks like our next move from here is to talk to the Ithanites and see if they're willing to give us a hand. I really do not want to mandate upon them an inspection of their vessel to plant spies on board. That's several steps too far.
Would be very risky.
Indeed.
Well, if it comes down to it, Captain, we can always insist on a safety inspection. Make sure that their specs are up to our records. I'm sure that we could also spot out some contraband, and well, I mean, if there's no objection to it, impounding said contraband, and they are still approaching a system that is technically in a state of insurrection, so that's probably a violation right there. If it came to it.
Possibly, Ensign Crichton. But the theme of today does seem to be government overreach, so in the interest of irony, I suppose, let's avoid that if we can.
My apologies on the on that particular chime in. That was actually meant to be Chief Fernier. That is GM's mistake there. I should have said.
Sure.
New characters and whatnot.
I appreciate the enthusiasm, Chief.
Okay, so It sounds as though the next task would be dealing with the Ithanites. Before we complete the staff meeting, does anybody else have anything they would want to chime in with or otherwise do before we break from this format here? All right. I guess hearing none, then there will the staff meeting breaks. On the way out, there is actually a chime on the intercom, um, specifically for you, Dr. Lambeth. Did I cut out there?
Paging Dr. Lambeth.
No, you didn't cut out.
Yeah,
Okay, good.
sorry. What was the question?
The intercom in the conference room is actually chimed, and it seems to be sickbay calling for you.
Oh, right. On the way.
All right.
Do you want to, should you fill me in while I'm turbo lifting there?
That was actually the point of the intercom, but if you just
Yeah,
tap in
yeah,
and
I just figure he's
Yeah, they're
sort
just
of
trying to
the kind of
talk
guy
to you,
who will
yeah.
just, right, okay, you need me somewhere, great, I'll just go there.
Yep.
And let you want to tell me something, you can tell me on the way.
Spectacular. So then let me just move sheets over. We'll do just a very quick scene, and you make your way from the conference room, which that would take you from. Just double checking here, making sure that I have this correct. We're going to say the conference room would be on deck 5, let's say, and you'll go over to the turbolift and head on down to deck 9. And as you arrive, you find that the medical staff all fairly everyone's kind of going through most of their standard work, but there are some people around one of the bio beds, including Nurse Marple, who will turn to acknowledge you.
Yes? What seems to be the problem? How can I help? What do you need me for?
And Craig, I would look at the roll 20 chat for that.
Oh, there's a. Sorry. Dun, 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 dun. Oh, right. Oh, you sent me stuff. Okay, cool. Sorry.
I did. It
I
was
had. Sorry, I had
Right,
not been
yes.
expecting.
Nurse Marple is, yeah.
Ah. Is it taken? Looks like Lieutenant Tackley may have taken a fall. Found him
Okay.
unconscious in his quarters.
All right. Great. I'll take care of him from here. Like, just preliminary. Like, from a brief look, is just a fall. Nothing suspicious. Like, what's his injuries?
He had been
situation.
saying that he was feeling unwell beforehand, and under the captain's instructions, I went to see if he was all right. Give him just a quick check over, and I found him, well, unconscious amongst a pile of snow globes and Big Ben
Oh,
alarm clocks.
I
I
hope he didn't hear about the plans to maybe sell them off. But yeah. Okay.
Tackley convulses for a moment.
Yeah. Was any of the stuff like I should probably just take a look at him, and I can try and figure out what happened from there. So,
He wasn't impaled on any of the alarm clocks. So
okay,
he
good.
was fine.
I
It's just
understand the hands on those can be very pointy.
yes, and the snow globes looked unbroken, so he hadn't ingested any of the possibly toxic snow inside them.
Or whatever else might be inside them. I know some folks who've put some very interesting things inside snow globes. Anyway, right, let's check what's inside him. And just begin medical examination, I guess. What do I need to roll?
Okay, I'll just ask for a reason and medicine roll.
Oh, I can assist.
Yes, you can assist.
Probably doesn't count. Not emergency medicine, really.
This wouldn't quite qualify. Nurse Marple had technically found him, and he was stabilized beforehand.
Okay, so just reason medicine.
All right, I'll go ahead and grant you a couple of momentum to go with that. So it would seem from the sensor analysis that you've run, the most obvious answer to what's wrong with Tackley is that there are signs of there are signs of onset of what appears to be a fairly standard case of the flu, which seems to be that it's something that apparently Ryzens don't take as well to, in a sense. He may need a little bit. He may just need a bit more time in sick bay. But it is also the case that it does seem as though he took some fairly heavy blows from what you would guess were very full cardboard boxes, as it occurs to you that if there were as many boxes as were in the shuttle pod when you arrived here, and if those weren't the only loads, then his quarters would be very full indeed.
Yeah, and it might not be the most stable set of structures.
There are indeed signs that while nothing is going to rise to the level of, say, compartment syndrome or probably not a concussion at the very least, he probably took a couple nasty hits to the head, probably come back with a few bruises here. It would probably be safer if he just stayed under observation for an indefinite period.
Yeah, okay.
The rest of the campaign, even.
Alright, let's keep him under observation for a while. Looks like we've got nothing really life-threatening going on, no concussions, nothing like that. But worth keeping an eye on him, and so just keep him here basically until he comes to sanity and decides to get rid of some of his stuff. At that point, I'd say he's probably healed. But until then, probably worth keeping him here.
Yes, Doctor.
Great. Well, I guess I'll hang around here a little bit more. I've probably got a bit of paperwork or something to do, and just in case he suddenly wakes up and we get any more problems. But yeah, excellent work finding him. I'm glad he's okay. Good job.
All right.
Yeah, and unless you've got more that needs doing in the scene.
I think that about covers it.
Right.
So, with all of that said, we'll zoom out for a moment. Does anybody else have other scenes that they would like to have, either either between themselves or amongst other members of the player group, or perhaps with NPCs? If nobody has a scene, I'll ask if anybody has anything in particular they would like to try and do or find out before we intercept the Aethonites?
Couple things. I want to go to my ready room and read about the Aethonites as much as I can. And while I'm up there, I'm going to over the intercom ask Ensign Conley to report to my ready room.
Okay, sounds like we've got the makings of a scene there. Quick check before we get to that. Does anybody else have something they would like to do, scene-wise, with any characters?
Nope.
Hearing none, yeah, we'll go ahead then and get things moved to a later scene in the captain's ready room, where Captain Barton, you're reading up on the Aethonites. So far as you can tell, they are they're a relatively minor spacefaring power, but nonetheless very influential traders, as it were. Um, they seem to be they're on friendly relations with Earth. There is official contact. They are known for a fairly strong merchant marine, and those reports that have come to Earth or that experiences, anecdotal evidence suggests that there is, in the general culture, a degree of hedonism and desire to welcome strangers and whatnot. They are very much a friendly contact and are they're definitely the people that you would like to host a get together.
Cool.
Yeah. So compared to the Tellarites, this should be a very easy experience.
Yes, no, they're a bit more xenophilic. Yes, okay.
Yep. As you are reading through this information, which the rest of the crew will have access to as needed, you get a chime at the entrance of your ready room.
Enter, please.
Yep. And this is where Ensign Wade Connolly has an opportunity to enter. Ensign, you step through the threshold and you enter the compartment containing the captain's ready room. It is as cramped as every other room, but still a little bit larger than your quarters, which you are probably sharing with another ensign.
Ensign Conley steps in and he comes to like kind of standing at attention. He's like, "You wanted to see me, Captain?"
Before we do that, would you care to describe Ensign Conley to me, like just for like a visual reference?
Yes, please.
Yeah, he's a uh, young guy, like I would say just out of the academy. Um, Dark hair, somewhat tan complexion. He kind of has a baby face. You can definitely see the youth on him, and the kind of like bright eyes, uh, the attitude of like, "Holy crap, I'm actually in space."
Mm-hmm. Okay. For your visual reference, Captain Barton is probably a mid-30s tall man, long blonde hair, a something of a beard. Blue eyes, a kind smile. He doesn't appear like in terms of like what his face looks like in terms of mood. He doesn't seem to be upset or anything. Um, Looking around his ready room, his office, you see dominating the room is a telescope pointing out the window leading into space. One of those antique brass things. There are some bookshelves lining the walls. You see on them a few model starships, one of the NX class, one of the Daedalus, a couple of things from earlier Earth history that are escaping your name. Lots of books on engineering, particularly astrophysics. Um, Ensign, sit, please.
Uh, he kind of looks around like thrilled but worried, and he doesn't know quite what to do with himself since he's like kind of standing rigid. So he kind of like sits on the edge of the chair, still kind of sitting at attention.
I appreciate you attending the staff meeting earlier. I did want to talk briefly about that. Typically, protocol is when speaking with flag officers. Usually, if you want to run something to the admiral, you run it by me first. I'm not upset.
His face goes red. He's definitely looking abashed. He's like,
He
"Of course,
raises
Captain.
Captain Barton raises a hand. It's okay. I appreciate your enthusiasm.
Of course, won't happen again, sir."
Thank you. This may become a regular occurrence. Captain Barton says as he lifts a pad with a medical readout on it. Lieutenant Tackley may be out of commission for a bit, so as of now, you are acting chief navigator.
I won't let you down, sir. I'm up for the job.
I'm glad to hear it. Dismiss, Ensign.
He quickly stands up and like nods and books for the door.
You pass through the threshold, and the door closes behind you.
And then he kind of like he feels bad for the lieutenant, but he's also really grateful for the opportunity.
So, out of respect, no arm pumping or hollering, I take it.
Yeah, none of that.
All right.
At least externally.
Spectacular. All right. So, with that, yeah, you continue about your business, learning about the Ithanites. And is there anything else that, I guess first, Captain, anything else you would want to do whilst whilst we have the scene on you here?
Nah.
All right. Conley, anything else you'd want to do?
That's a negative.
All right. In which case, final question out to the rest of you. Does anybody else have anything they would like to do before we cut ahead? Hearing none, we will go ahead and move out to. We'll move up to a few hours later, where everyone is now back to stations. In the time that you've elapsed, warp drive is back to full capability now, and the Aegis has been moving on an intercept course to rendezvous with the Ithanites. Um, the freighter is still continuing along at warp 1.5. They're probably the intercept will occur just outside of sensor range for the Tellarites, so you should be able to continue this rendezvous without any any necessary issues that would come along with that. Let me move screens here. But yeah, you are quickly approaching the Tellarites at warp. I'd say you're at under a minute before intercept.
Okay. Before we like fully decide what to do here, like we should probably have some discussion of like what we are like going to the Ithanites to talk about. Like, there's a in my head there was an intent of like, talking to them and being brought to the planet by the Ithanites and then getting to the planet that way. But if we do that, we would be Aegis would not be able to help us at all. The Ithanites would be our way in and our way out, and if we get caught, that is it.
There's a definitely be an all or nothing away mission type situation.
Right.
Definitely risky.
Yeah. On the other hand, we could just ask the Ithanites to gather some information for us, like pretty much anything that they can learn about the Tellarites, about Governor Slocum, and then they could relay it to us on their way out. But other than that,
It's got to be first-hand information. We've got to go in there and do it ourselves.
Or yeah, we could send in a team just to get the lay of the land, and then have the ship come in if we need them. If we can set up some kind of a relay.
Aegis wouldn't be able to help us at all. If Aegis approached the system, the Tellarites would just boot us out again.
Right.
If we do send a team in, they've got to go in civilian clothing.
Yeah, I was thinking, yeah, it would have to be that.
Yeah. Or we could try and find some kind of leverage with the admiral.
Possibly. I mean, if we were to go down there and search for that sort of thing, it's possible.
Yeah.
Just some method of convincing the Tellarite admiral that this is not the best course of action. Because any other diplomatic routes, they're gonna take some time. They may be more effective, but we can pursue our own angles while our respective governments pursue theirs. Actually, no, belay that. We're going to plot a course straight to the nearest Tellarite colony and begin enforcing our demands upon it.
Yeah, no. Two can play at that game.
Yes, let's see how much they like it. Two wrongs make a right? Yes.
Oh. Enter the Tellarite Earth War arc.
Yes. Yes, that thing that definitely happened in Star Trek canon.
Going off the
Yes.
rails already.
This is all canon! Even the bits that don't seem canon.
Especially the bits that
I'm
don't
sorry,
seem
did you say cannons? Charge them. Charge face cannons. We're going in.
Yep. So
I'm on team go to the planet, but
Yeah, likewise.
Yeah, I certainly, going to the planet would probably be the most interesting thing to do. So
probably makes sense to find out like how long the Ithanites are going to be there, so we have like a concrete, we know when our flight's leaving.
yeah.
Question is, what will the Ithanites want in exchange for doing this?
That is
There's
very
some
true.
risk on their part if the Tellarites want to search their vessel and find us on board.
Oh, that is a possibility.
So I think we have to give them something in exchange, probably.
Possibly. Well, the only way to figure that out would be to talk to them.
So you are approaching communications range at this point.
Okay. Yeah, hail them. Let's hail them. Ensign Crichton.
Opening a channel. Ithanite freighter, this is the Earth starship Aegis. Please respond. And the channel opens, and there's the visual comes to a man in a fairly simple shirt, actually with what appears to be a hand towel going through his hair at this point. Oh. Hello. Hi. Oh, Earth is. Hello.
Greetings. My name is Captain Anthony Barton of the SS Aegis. We were hoping to discuss an exchange.
Hello, Captain Barton. My name's North. You want you want to trade? We're going to trade. We're actually going to the Earth colony Alpha Centauri for trade. That's
Yes,
what we're here to do.
It was that precise thing we wished to discuss. Have you been made aware of the local political situation?
Oh, I'm afraid I don't read the news.
To save you the boring details, there appears to be something of a minor rebellion happening on the planet. Nothing violent yet, but the powers that be have sent me to investigate and resolve the situation.
Investigate. You better give me a moment. I'd better get my captain real quick.
You are not the commanding officer of this vessel?
Oh no, I'm Noth.
Right. My turn. Bring me your leader.
I will give you the opportunity to create an advantage, and it will become immediately apparent what that is.
Yeah, sure. Let's create an advantage.
All right, that will be 2 momentum, please.
Sure. Sold.
Yep. Let's see. Drone, if you care to drop those 2 momentum.
Yep.
All right. So with that, Narth is going to push a few buttons, and the visual feed will cut out. It is worth noting that actually, Crichton is going to point this out. Sir, he pushes a button. I've muted our end, but their audio is still active. Captain Lamash, I need your help here. We got a thing here. Narth, what is going on right now? There's an Earth vessel on sensors. Yeah, they're here to investigate. They hear about the trade. Damn it
Captain,
all.
while they're discussing that, can I quickly suggest something?
What's up?
Since we're muted and they seem distracted, like we could probably just stow away and sneak aboard without even asking them if we wanted to. They don't seem like they'd really notice an extra couple of people on board.
Are their shields raised?
Their shields are not raised. You are not exactly in transporter range yet.
Okay.
You're still basically moving at warp from opposite directions. I imagine that you will either need to ask them to slow to impulse or actually, yeah, for transporters, I think in this area you would need to drop to impulse anyway because they.
What? We haven't invented transport beaming yet. There's no equations for that. Man.
I don't think it actually happened in the series, as far as I recall.
Man.
The
I mean, we
engineers in
can't
this
just
are
beam from
smackers.
Earth to Kronos. Oh,
Immediately, like instantly, yeah, just beam across 200 light years because that's a thing that definitely is possible.
Yeah. Cannon's a bitch. Anyway, but yes,
Curse you, JJ.
yes. Anyway, as the doctor proposes the idea of stowing away, and after Lamash goes through curses, a few more curses. Look, have they asked to conduct an inspection or anything of the sort? No, they just said investigate. Well, let me see if I can talk them out of this. We don't want them stopping us and finding the hold. Certainly, those flame gems are going to go for much more of a fortune than well, they're not going to do us any good if they get impounded by the Earth or by Earth or whatever the Alpha Centauri government looks like or whoever's conquering whom. I don't know. But you need to keep your cool. Now, let's be very clear here, Narth. Did you say anything that would give them a sense of what's going on? No, did you say anything? I just told them I'm Narth. I swear, Narth, you cause more headaches than you're worth. But that's why I'm the brains of this operation, and why you just you're the I'm the pretty face. I know. Yes, Narth. Well, go
I
ahead.
smell blackmail.
Go ahead
I
and
do indeed.
reopen the comm line with them. And with that, you get a visual feed from the Ithanite freighter. There is a Ithanite man, a bit older, appears to be balding, and with a very bushy beard.
Oh, my dog is barking. He'll calm down in a moment.
Yep, all good.
No, my dog is barking.
Porthos!
Yep. God. Okay. I'll gesture to Ensign Crichton to unmute the comm line, and I'll just smile at the Ithanite gentleman and say, "Hi, I'm Tony. What are flame gems?"
He blinks. Narth, you cut the comm line. Yeah, I pushed the button.
I'll just smile and shake my head.
Oh, Captain Lamash will double face palm. Okay. Captain Tony, is it?
Barton.
But we could be friends here. You can simply call me Lamash, and I can call you Tony. Could
That
could
sounds nice.
Okay. Well, now that we're friends and we have that understanding, what does it take to get get a tiny bit of contraband through the way? What spices up the life of what is it? Earth Fleet, Star Force? I must say I haven't had much formal contact with um
I just have
your
one
ilk.
pressing question. Will your cargo holds resist scans from Tellarite sensors?
The official ones no, but
You know what
the
I mean.
we may have something that would be a little more accommodating.
Good. Captain, have you been made aware of the local political situation in Alpha Centauri?
I'm afraid I am not up to date. I have been tending to other issues, making sure that this mission ekes out a profit.
Right. And in the interest of all parties involved, we'll let you keep on doing that. We are in need of transport to the surface of Alpha Centauri. I presume you'll be landing at the starport there. I will let you continue on your way with your flame gems, as long as you take a few Star Force officers with you in your more interesting cargo holds. You need a ride there and a ride back.
Very well. We can accommodate that. He snaps over to North. Get us out of warp.
And to be clear, if there's any funny business at all from your end, we do have a complete recording of, well, I hate to call it evidence, but
I get the picture, Captain. This is
good.
not
Good.
my first shakedown, and certainly
Oh,
not the first time my counterpart or colleague has caused me difficulty in the past.
I wouldn't call this a shakedown. We're just exchanging favors.
Oh, however you wish to put it, Tony.
He smiles.
Very well, we will prepare to have you come aboard.
Excellent.
Well, welcome to the Bounty Aplenty.
Thank you very much. Perhaps we can arrange for a tour of my vessel in the future.
Oh, a part of me hopes not, especially if that ends in your brig.
We shall strive to avoid such. Ensign Crichton, cut the comm line.
And with that, uh, Crichton will he will cut the line.
All right. Ensign Conley, please bring us into dock.
And
Yes, Captain.
All right. Now, pressing question: who is going?
I volunteer.
So do I.
Thank you, Lieutenant.
Yeah, I mean, I'll throw my hat in the ring.
I'm going to
I mean,
apologies for the interrupt. I was just going to take the moment to say that this is Star Trek, and away teams can be composed of as many people as are interested in going regardless of rank and position. So by all means, don't feel under any obligation to not be involved.
We
Unless
also
you
have
wish to.
support characters too that we can take.
Exactly.
So the chef is going. No.
Yes, yes. No, the chef is going to take the con.
Oh no.
But yeah, I'd like to go.
Okay. It sounds like the entire gang wants to go. The question is, who's going to take the con?
I will.
um,
There is a third watch officer who would be of lieutenant or lieutenant commander rank that has not yet been specified, but we will
Right.
say that you do have a bridge officer that could keep an eye on things and maintain a rotation.
okay, cool. Ensign, Lieutenant Commander No Name, you have the report to the bridge. You have the con. Looks like the gang's going for a field trip. He doesn't actually say that bit, but we are.
He's definitely thinking it.
Right. Cool.
All right.
Let's go.
So yeah, the
Civilian clothes.
Yes, civvies.
yep.
We get a cool montage of us all like putting on our or coming out of our quarters with our like cool new fashion from like the 2200s.
Yeah.
Yes. Everybody, feel free to share any description you might have of your civilian duds that you donned, and whether they were your personal ones or if you went to the wardrobe department, which a ship of this era would very much have.
And
I have some civvies.
Probably take a look at the weather of the capital city. So I'm guessing it's kind of a temperate place.
Temperate and a little bit cooler than a little bit cooler compared to Earth. They've been working for some years to make Alpha Centauri 3 a little bit less harsh, which they were especially bad in the winters, and the terraformers have done quite well with that. But it is still there are some days that for most humans would still be at least more comfortable with long sleeves.
Okay, well, tank top it is then.
Yep. For Andorians, yeah.
Conley's gonna overdo it. He doesn't really know what people outside the homeworld dress, so he's like to the nines.
Definitely bring in the Ushan tour.
I feel like my civilian clothes are all like from my old professor life, so I come out of my quarters with like a tweed jacket and a vest, looking all dorky.
Dr. Lambeth has like one set of clothes, and so he is just wearing that, which is just like, yeah.
They have actually been properly cleaned, Doctor. So you've had just enough time for them to go through the laundry for the first time in a while.
Yeah, I might have to, might have to remuddy them to get the proper look.
One of the rarely thought of bits of Star Trek, the laundry department.
Yes.
Yeah.
When are we gonna see that Lower Decks episode? Okay, yeah. Captain Barton arrives to the docking ring, in what can very much be described as surfer boy attire. He's got like a Hawaiian shirt, one of those is it a tank top? Is it a tank top? Is that what the name for that kind of shirt is called? He's got like some rings. He's got one of those shark tooth necklaces, sunglasses. No surfboard, but he does have a bag. Like with a name on the side. It like looking at it, it's like a really old reference to this old Earth franchise Star War or something. You can't quite, the lettering is weird. All right. He arrives to the docking ring, surveys everyone's civvies. You guys are dressed kind of warmly.
Better to dress warm, and you can always take off more layers. You can't put more on. Or
Oh,
no,
is
hang
it
on.
is it cold down there?
I've no clue.
It seems to be about 15 degrees centigrade,
Are-
Captain.
Are you?
I know that's pretty warm.
Captain Barton looks over at our Endorian tactical officer. Yes, very warm, Lieutenant.
I mean, the in the big
The captain,
city, it tends to
Maybe I
feel a
should
lot
pack a
warmer.
hand fan.
the
Less
captain,
wind.
the captain retreats once again to change, grumbling something about Canadians. Um,
Get the Starfleet Academy hockey jersey.
yeah.
Definitely not the Starfleet Academy hockey jersey. We don't want any Starfleet insignia on.
Oh yeah, right.
Yeah, probably
It
not
was
a
the
great idea.
academy. It's probably a dropout, right?
San Jose
Anyone
Sharks.
who wears the academy jersey obviously didn't do well enough to get into the full thing.
That is actually true. Okay. Captain Barton returns in a much more temperate outfit. A little almost a little professorial, similar to the other professors present here. All right, shall we go then?
Can we? Oh, I'd like Eula to have a backpack, and in that have a box with weapons, phasers. Phase pistols,
Well,
so that everyone can have a weapon just in case
Yeah.
something goes wrong.
Captain Barton's shorthand is catching on. Um, so, as you leave out, that actually is a very good question, particularly what equipment you would like to bring. I'm going to rule that standard equipment that you could hide on your person would include a communicator, phase pistol, universal translator, and a scanner. Um, for relevant disciplines, you could also each have a small bit of like specialized supplementary equipment rather. Um, you may also on the tactical end, you may bring heavier gear, including particle rifles, pulse grenades, should you wish it. There is, I'm going to rule, an escalation cost. Um, Let me double check.
I just need my Ushantor, that's all,
Yeah. Uh,
and the phase pistol, obviously.
would anyone else want something heavier than a phase pistol?
I suppose as a command officer, my specialized equipment would likely be a crown and scepter. Yes.
Yes, the standard issue crown and scepter, the Mark IV.
Yes.
Yeah.
I think I'll skip out on that for the time being.
Is that a euphemism or are we?
Well, I am a command officer. I'm. There we go. This isn't a democracy.
That's exactly the attitude you want to take to Alpha Centauri.
Yes.
Yeah. Doctor, honestly, you probably, I would suspect that you had a well-worn medical bag that you could supplement with some slightly improved equipment alongside whatever else you carried.
Yeah, I mean, I've got no need for extra weapons. If someone wants to smuggle some guns in me drugs bag, like I can let them, and I'll just I'll bring the standard drugs, I guess. But like, yeah, I haven't got any plans for doing anything special with the bag. But yeah, he would just take it effectively as part of the like with the rest of his outfit, basically.
All right. Um, and then I guess Patel, is there anything else that you would want to carry with you?
I think just the standard equipment for me, and then like I don't know. I keep my. I think I mentioned like my dude likes to do like sketches and stuff when he's out like on away missions. So he's got like a little moleskin notebook or something on like the inside pocket of his jacket, and like a little piece of charcoal pencil or something.
Sounds good. Yeah.
Ooh, what about like one of those like futuristic pairs of binoculars?
I could say that you could get one of those without escalation cost.
Yep, I'll take one of those.
Yep. Conley, anything else that you would like?
No, maybe a towel.
No, never leave home without it.
A blanket, a blankie even.
Yeah, a little blankie.
Are
No, that I think standard would work for him. Just the pistol and the regular gear.
sounds great. So, all of you then are going to enter into the Ithonite freighter. It's fairly well maintained, but a little bit more cramped. This was designed at least with other species in mind, insofar as the hallways are traversable, but they are a bit shorter, or there's a bit more of a hunch, and that's even coming from the very submarine-like Aegis. You're maybe a little bit confused with the hunch down, or the need to hunch down, but Captain, it occurs to you one other fact that had come up. The Ithanites, generally speaking, are closer to the 4-foot range.
Right.
And indeed, that is very much the case as Narth rounds the corner, now without a towel of his own. Oh, hey! You're looking sharp there.
Thank you.
I was told to let you come this way here. Yeah, I was also told not to say too much. I apparently get us in trouble quite a bit.
Mm. I have no idea what your captain means.
You know captains, right? They're always telling you to be cautious. You don't have to worry around us. We're friends, right? I mean, we're staying on your ship. You wouldn't let us stay on your ship if we weren't friends.
Exactly.
That's a good point. That's a very good point. We're all friends. I'm Narth, by the way. Hello.
Nice to meet you, Narth.
Dr. Lambeth, I guess you can just call me Danny.
Hello,
We're friends, right?
Dr. Danny Lambeth. That's a nice name.
It's Dr. Lambeth or Danny. You don't combine the two. It's some weird like that.
What? No one ever goes Dr. Danny.
No, because it's technically John Lambeth or Danny for short. It's weird. Look, I come from a weird place. Okay, we do things weirdly.
You just see him like doing like looking down at his hands and kind of like raising each finger from it, like starting with fists and then raising each finger as if he's like counting on them. It's like I don't get the shortening, but you Earthers are your own sort.
It wasn't a joke at your expense, I promise.
Surely good friends can call you Dr. Danny.
Good friends can call me Dr. Danny. Fair
You're
enough.
my good friend now, Dr. Danny. But I'll just
That I am.
out of
Hello,
respect. Oh, hello.
Sorry, that was out of character. My bad. Go ahead.
Yeah. But yeah, Narth will show you the way through. Just for the sake of fluff, give me a let's say insight and con roll, everybody. And because this is a fluff roll, I'm going to say complication range is all the way up to 5.
Ooh.
But this is a
Awesome.
difficulty one. I promise
Wait,
you
so-
there will
Sorry,
be
an insight and what roll?
insight and con.
Con.
Is this a not hitting your head on the ceiling roll?
This is very much that.
Oh, double zeros.
Woo!
Wow.
Composure help as a focus?
I don't think it does.
No.
What about
Oh, God.
xenobacteriology?
So
Can I lead by example to make
so half
everyone
of
hit
us
their head on the
die
ceiling?
on the way through the ship.
Um, Yeah,
A lot
so
of complications.
pretty much everyone but Conley is going to bump their head. Shira,
Oh.
you are going to maybe catch an antennae, which is going to be yeah,
pain.
it's going to be very painful, but it is going to be a
Oh,
fleeting
Matt
thing.
brought me a bag.
You've not snapped anything, you are sure.
Oh, that's painful. That's gonna give me a headache.
I'll get motion sickness sometimes here too.
Yeah.
Yeah, motion sickness. Yeah, that's what I call it when my head makes those kind of motions.
Yep. You knock into a you say that as you knock into another bit of bulkhead.
Yeah.
I'll tell you one thing: that this ship can be a bit of a challenge sometimes, but we make it work. Um, Narth expertly dodges over a bit after he's walking far a bit too close to one side and very nearly bangs his head. Uh, anyway, he takes you through a couple corridors and opens up one of the cargo holds. There appears to be stacks of various crates and barrels with all sorts of bright, exciting colors. The Athenites tend to favor, let's say, more of an original series style color palette. And Narth will go up to one of the walls, pull away a panel, and tap in something. The door opens and there is a secondary compartment. Oh, right this way here. Yep.
All right,
Conley's gonna he's gonna like look back and be like, everybody watch their heads.
Thank you, Ensign.
Thank you, Conley.
Just the collective grumbles from behind the ensign. Um, but yes, the cargo compartment is a little bit smaller as the contraband one. It was not meant for much in the way of other humanoids accessing it very clearly. Right. So Captain said, "Mon to the flame gems. They're not good. They're not as good to touch here. They're legal in this sector. Avoid opening that container. The spice is a little bit addictive, and it can be a bit spicy. And just don't come down too hard on those boxes, which are all we've got for you to sit on, unfortunately. That was what our last crewman sat on.
What happened to him?
He got fired."
Why?
"Because he sat on the boxes, and Lamash told us not to sit on the boxes."
But that's all we have to sit on.
"Yeah, but he didn't do it carefully. There's a difference."
Oh, okay. Well,
What's in the boxes?
Uh,
what's in the box?
I don't ask those questions.
That's okay.
I'm just not.
Yeah.
All right.
Anyway, with that, he will sit you down, close you off. It's like, "Well, we'll let you know when we bring this one down, but you might feel a little bit. Inertial dampeners in here, they're okay, but sometimes I'll feel, in a descent, I'll feel a little bit of lift."
Understood.
Yep.
Plain simple Garak. Yep.
I'm not familiar with the. I don't know, Garrick. I'm not.
Yeah, sorry, I was just looking through time. Don't worry about that.
Yep. You stare through time for a moment. Take a fitness and medicine roll,
All right.
and leave that complication range up.
It's your Call of Cthulhu sanity check.
3.
You you feel a wave of something come over you, but you don't know what it is. And you ride through it and just ponder the name Garrick.
What's a Cardassian?
Yes, questions for another day. In
Questions
any
for another time.
Yep. But yeah, Narth will close you in, and the freighter will resume its trip at warp here. And over the next few hours will elapse. You have but your own company to keep you busy, as there's nothing in terms of a comm line from the bridge or anything. Unless you brought other entertainment, downloaded something to a scanner, then chances are that would there'd be a little bit less to do.
I'll
Question.
spend time sharpening my Ushantor.
Spectacular.
Can we get Doom on a 22nd century scanner?
You can get Doom on anything.
Okay.
Can I scan the boxes and see what's in all of them?
You may run a reason and science roll, yes.
Just dial that complication range all the way back down.
Yep. All right. So with with that reason and science roll there, you are going to get you're actually going to find that what is it here? The very specifically that the sorry, I momentarily lost my notes. So you're going to notice, for one, the spice containers to which Narth was alluding do seem to be only do seem to only contain it's actually nutmeg, oddly enough.
Oh, yummy.
Yeah, which for all you know may be a contraband elsewhere, but would be quite innocent in all likely, at least as far as this is concerned. But um, yeah, Narth probably, or rather, Lamash probably doesn't take any chances. Within the boxes, there appear to be signs of some like slightly decayed signs of organic material, possibly a few readouts of something stone-wise, like something rockier, essentially.
But no, like, weapons or anything is what I was going for. Like, the stuff
No,
that they're smuggling is fairly, like, tame.
indeed.
It's contraband, but it's not like super dangerous.
Precisely.
Okay. Nutmeg, huh?
Um, and then, of course, there are signs of the flame gems, which, near as you can tell, there doesn't seem to be any unique property to them which would suggest certainly anything combustible about them. Um, but nonetheless, it is, er, well, I will say that you might at least have the errant word that there may be some sort of contraband listing on them, or at least
Right.
in some sectors that Earth might be aware of through its merchant activities. I'd
Wait,
imagine it's
isn't
more to do with extraction.
Yeah.
isn't isn't Dr. Patel's specialization astrogeology?
I was about to say, I have a doctorate
Yeah.
in geology.
Oh, then you would know that these gems, though interesting looking, they aren't so much like combustible or have any that they have any particular quality like that. However, uh, there's some controversy with regard to where they were extracted from, and
Oh,
there's
the old blood diamond thing.
yeah, yeah. Uh, either something of a politically disruptive nature or an ecological toll, depending on where it is mined from.
I see.
Cool.
Cool.
Yeah. There also there I suppose would be a hazard if you were to breach the gems, as there is some liquid mercury inside of them.
Oh, good. Okay, well, if we want to make any ancient Chinese emperors immortal, we've got plenty of that.
Indeed, indeed. So yeah, with that you will proceed. You will pass the time, learning that your contraband, at least in this compartment, is fairly innocuous. Um, and under the protection of the bounty aplenty, you will proceed into the Alpha Centauri system. Um, some time elapses, and eventually you feel a very slight bit of a thud, or like a very slight sense of an impact. It is not the feel that, at the very least, Shira, that you would expect with a weapon system hit. So you are at least certain enough that the Ithanites have not given you away or inadvertently let the Tellarites know that they were smuggling in a human crew from Star Force. But it does there is a very slight bit of a rattle, and indeed a feel of like a slight pull, possibly a gravity well that is not the artificial one the ship is using. You are indeed now beginning to descend into the atmosphere of Alpha Centauri 3.
All right, everyone, hold on.
Yep. And I think that this would be as good a place to cut the session for now. So we are going to come back next week with the away mission part. So let me get this ready to cut out here for the YouTube end. For those of you following the archive, thanks for thanks for catching this video, and we will have more next week. You can of course check it out live at twitch.tv slash GM in the Great Barrier. Just check the description in the video below. Until then, we will see you later.